So yeah, we're gardening.
We're gardening.
Gardening's really, really cool and fun and unique and different, and it's like what you like doing.
I love gardening.
Yeah.
Gardening makes me really happy.
Because you have a pretty crazy job, so it's cool to mellow it out with some gardening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who are you and why should we care about you? It's
Mary.
so funny. I've started podcasts off like that a lot now.
That's so
It's
funny.
really rude, but it's kind of abrupt, and then it gets my guest being like, "Okay, so that's how this is going to go."
Okay, I know how this is going to happen.
Yeah.
I am Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Some people call me Dr. Willis because I'm a doctor.
So don't you know everything? So real quick.
Don't I know everything?
Give me
Actually, yes.
Give me your log line, because you do know everything.
I do kind of know a lot of stuff.
That's kind of cool.
I know, but I seem extra cool because I know stuff other people don't. And so when I talk, everybody's like amazed, like, how do you know all that? Because I don't know a bunch of stuff you know.
That's why we're here.
I don't
That's
have,
why I'm here.
I don't have room in my brain
because you
for
know a bunch of stuff.
all of that stuff. But I know a lot of weird, random stuff.
Give me a random stuff for just to start people off. Give them a little sample, because we're gonna get into the stuff, but we need a little sample stuff. So just spit something.
Well, I already started out that you have to have more than one tomatillo plant.
That's true.
They have to cross-pollinate each other.
That is some cool knowledge.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm taking this here post thing that I assembled. That I did a terrible job, but actually, you know what? I did a great job because I'm really confident in myself, and I never critique myself for things I do anymore. So
you can't.
I did a great job. I'm really confident. Okay, this is not a fake thing that I'm putting on.
You can't.
Anyway.
And if you wait for other people to tell you that you did a good job in order to feel like you did a good job, you're going to quit trying to do a good job. Because there's not enough people around watching every single thing that you do. So you just kind of have to feel in your heart that you're doing the right thing or doing a good job. And
yeah, I think it'll take me a little while to figure that out.
Oh, I haven't figured it out yet.
Really?
No.
Where did Mary Willis begin?
Where did Mary Willis begin? I'm complicated.
You're complicated? I like that. That makes this interesting.
I started in Boulder, Colorado.
You started?
Yep.
When did you start?
I started.
When did you push go?
I pushed go in the 60s. I was born in the 60s.
Really? That
in
long
Boulder.
ago?
Yes. You're funny. You know how old your parents are.
No, I don't. I have no idea how old
You're not
they are.
allowed.
I don't know how old they are. I don't know when their birthdays are.
I'm unprivileged to know that information.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was born in the 60s.
Okay.
In Boulder, Colorado, which is a hippie town.
Did you go to Woodstock?
I did not, because I was very young when that happened. And
Really?
my parents were devout Christian people who didn't
Smoked a lot of weed?
There was not a lot of weed smoking. No. My dad had 5 kids before moving in with his boyfriend.
Boyfriend?
My mom probably knew he was gay, but completely just decided not to
Address it? Wow.
Rumor has it that he actually tried to talk to her about it before they got married, and she just kind of went, la, 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 I don't
Really?
care. Yeah. Wow. So he moved out. And
how old were you?
He, first or second grade.
Okay.
But part of the issue was that I had 2 brothers, and they both died. So
oh my gosh, really?
I know. The oldest kid in my family was a boy named Danny, and he died when he was 8 from leukemia. And then I was the 4th, and then there was a kid younger than me, Peter, and he died when he was just like a little baby. And can you imagine losing? Well, you can't because you don't have kids, but you can kind of conceptualize about how that would mess with your head. And my dad just he was just done.
Really?
Yeah.
And did you know he was, well, I guess you were young enough that you probably didn't know that he was gay.
I figured out that he was gay, you know, when I knew what gay even was.
Yeah.
I was like a teenager. And my sisters knew before that because they were older than me.
Yeah.
And it was just Bob, Dad's roommate, you know?
Dad's roommate?
Yeah. We just called it, you know, that's how he used to go camping with our whole family.
Bob did?
Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, before my dad moved in with him, he would go
Were they just
camping.
like quote unquote friends before?
Yeah, they were just friends. Wow. They were friends. So I didn't know much about their relationship because once he moved out, I kind of lost touch with him.
With your dad?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I saw him a little bit, and then like he helped drive me to college, but then he removed his funding from college after a semester. And from then on, we never talked again.
You never talked again?
No.
How was like that whole thing with him and his boyfriend, but also more than that, like him like leaving you and cutting ties with you, how did that like affect your childhood?
Oh, it messes with a girl.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it definitely messes with a girl, and it messes with how you view men. And my mom sort of instilled in me and my sisters, without ever actually saying it, that men leave, so you gotta be able to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And so.
And be independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, so it was never a question to me that I was gonna have a career. Of course I was gonna have a career. I was never gonna be an MRS degree.
An MRS degree. Is that a more modern phrase, or was that a thing back then?
That was a thing back then.
It was? Okay.
People used to get married right out of college, I think, more.
Yeah, no, my grandpa asked me the other day, he's like, when are you gonna get married? I'm like, I'm 21. Calm down. Oh my gosh. So anyway, that messes with the girl.
It messes with a girl. It makes you not know exactly how to have good, healthy relationships. And
then did that, like, how long until you kind of figured that part out? Like having like a healthy relationship.
Oh, I think
stuff like
I
that.
think that's a thing that you
constant thing.
continue to work on your whole life.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't think you ever get it totally 100% figured out. If anybody out there is listening has it 100% figured out, like, look me up on the internet and tell
Hit
me
me
how.
up and tell me what to do. Was your trust in men, like, just basically, oh, I could never have a stable relationship with a man, or I don't want to, or how did that manifest?
That's a good question.
Yes, I try to get people to tell me that once for my own selfish, like, desire to be good at this.
Yeah.
When people tell me that, it just like
That it's a
soothes
good
my
question.
soul.
Phrase the question again.
The question I asked you was something that was a good
Something
question.
about relationships and how, when you're abandoned by your father, how does that shape who you are?
Yes.
And it definitely shapes who you are. And I think it shaped each of me and my sisters differently because they were older.
Do you think it affected them more? Or in a different
more?
way?
Yeah,
I feel like more is not the right word.
In a different way. Plus, they both knew my older brother and my younger brother better than I did. So I was a baby when my older brother died, and I was only like 3 when my younger brother died. So I don't really remember them.
Okay.
But they remember losing siblings because they were like 6 and 7.5.
So they had to deal with losing siblings.
So they had to lose siblings and
their
lose
dad.
their dad. And you know what? They are both amazing women.
Yeah.
So they figured something out.
How did your mom deal with all of that?
My mom, as I said, she was a good person, and she just was probably just clinically depressed most of my childhood. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I bet.
What she went through? So she just, you know what? She raised us. She loved us. She did her best to figure out how to pay for stuff after he left, and because she'd been a dietitian, and then he wanted her to stay home with the kids, and then he left.
Wow.
So
then she was like,
shitty.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she went to work as a secretary, and she figured it out. But she never really, like, blossomed, you know?
Yeah.
She never had that moment where she was going to just, like, fight through and...
Ever? Like, throughout her whole life?
I mean, she was tough because she just persisted.
Yeah.
You know? She just kept going no matter what. You know, shitstorm raining all over her, and she just would keep going. I don't know. Sometimes it makes you feel wimpy when you get upset about stuff that's silly.
You're like, well, I didn't have to deal with that.
I didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't have to talk about my weirdo family, but I do think it's an interesting story.
No, I know. That's why we are talking about it.
Because I don't know how many people have had, I mean, I think a lot of people have siblings die and you don't necessarily hear about it. And I don't know how many people have a gay dad.
A gay dad who left,
Yeah.
Were there any positives that kind of came from that, as far as you, like, being able to persist through hardship more than, like, a person who say, didn't have a father who left and siblings who died and all of the...
You know, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But how would I know?
That's
because
true. Yeah.
I am only living this one particular life, and I don't have the option to go back and redo the experiment a different way.
Yeah.
So.
Not yet. When we get VR, then you can. Some Ready Player
Maybe.
One.
I'm not sure I would want to go back and live it
Ooh.
a different way because I like where I am and I like where I ended up and I want to be content here.
Yeah. Well, I
And
like that you
so-
said that. That's good.
It's,
That's not
life,
everyone
life
can say that.
happens and you live through it, and if you survive it and things turn out mostly okay, like you're doing good.
Yeah. There you go.
I've always been just all about enough. Just enough. I needed enough money to pay the bills. I needed enough food. I don't need more. I don't need fancy. It makes it hard to live in La Jolla, where
Yeah.
that's not necessarily how we do things in La Jolla. But
How
I
do you
actually think that's from my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, why do you need a fancy car? Because it's a fancy car. But I'm like, yeah, it's a fancy car, but I was happy with the Prius.
Yeah. There you go. How do you find and establish what is enough for you?
Don't you just know?
I guess, yeah.
I think if you're happy with enough, then you're just, when it feels right. Like, like, okay, I'm there. This feels good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to excel at work. I don't need to be the boss of anything. I just, want to do my job.
That's good.
So,
So you went through, like high school, whatever, and
Yeah.
you said you wanted to be an independent woman because your mom instilled in you that you can't trust men and that you need to be, was it you can't trust men?
no, not trust men, but just men will leave.
Yeah.
Men
Don't
might-
put all your cards,
Yeah, don't,
all the eggs in the same basket
Yeah.
or whatever that
because
weird thing
they
is.
might just be out of here.
Okay.
So,
And so then you brought that into college, and so Mary here has a PhD and an MD. What are they in exactly?
my PhD is in biochemistry,
Okay.
and my MD is an MD. And then I did pediatrics after medical school, and
Okay.
then I went into genetics.
Okay, there you go.
So that is the route. It's a very long route. You don't
Yeah,
have
it's-
to go that whole way
my
to
God.
do what I do.
It's aggressive.
Yes, I like when you like have your one-liner at a party.
Yeah.
You're like, one of my one-liners is, I went to school for 40 years to do what I do.
That's insane.
No, that's a lie. 35 years.
Did you
I
actually?
was 40 years old when I got my first job as a geneticist.
You're 40?
I was 40.
That's psycho. You're insane. I'm gonna be 22 and I'm gonna be like, goodbye. What was your, so people, like, you go into undergrad and you have a preconceived notion of what you want to do, and then that obviously evolves over time. So where did that start? Because you probably weren't like, I'm gonna get my PhD and my MD and then become a pediatric
No.
geneticist.
No.
Right?
No. My route was very circuitous.
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 I went to college, and then, as I said, I knew I was going to be like science. I thought maybe I was going to do engineering. And then my dad pulled the money. And so I had this professor who said, you know what, we'll figure it out. He helped me switch my meal plan so that I could eat fewer meals, and then I just get a lot of food and store it in my dorm room. And he got other professors to lend me all of my books. And so I thought he was, amazing. And so he said, I think you should do biochem. And I said, yeah, I'll do biochem.
Sure.
He's like, I think you should do research in my lab. I'm like, yeah, I'll do research in your lab.
Yeah.
And then he said,
and what was your motivation at that point?
just, I think, honestly, how not having a dad affects you, I think a man taking care of me.
Ooh, okay.
I think he was a father figure, and so I was going
Okay.
to do anything I could to please him.
And that's what he was like, you should do this?
And so I
you're
was like, okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
And what do you think made him think that was what you would be good at, or that's what you should do?
He thought I was smart,
Okay.
and he offered me the chance to do research in his lab, and I was good at it. So he did something called bioinorganic chemistry, And so
Short definition of that.
short definition is
Fix the
inorganic
baby.
chemistry is, oh, careful. Max is trying to knock my scare baby out of
Hey,
the
see
garden.
now, you know though, you
What?
know that, you know that you're using audio cues for the people listening.
Quit gesturing at me with scare baby.
What's its name?
Scare baby. It's called scare baby.
You need an ID for that thing.
We'll put a little
You
tag
need to put
around
it down.
his neck.
Put it down. Put it like
it
dog
down.
tags or something.
Put it out of its misery. Put
Oh my
it down.
God. So you had your father figure as the professor, and he
So I
was
had a
like,
father figure for a professor.
and you should do bio something.
And he said I should do bioinorganic chemistry. And bioinorganic chemistry is the study of metals in biological systems. So like the iron in your blood, the iron that's in hemoglobin.
And was this in undergrad?
This was undergrad.
Wow. So you're already getting pretty, that sounds pretty corked, pretty involved. Is that nothing for you?
It was fun. It was cool.
It's a good time.
I got a couple of publications out of it, so it was fun.
As an undergrad?
Yeah.
True.
My professor encouraged me to go to graduate school, and I said, yes, of course I will go to graduate school. And I went to graduate school, and that's where I met my husband, so I'm really glad I went.
Shout out to Mike.
Shout out to Mike Willis.
Mike Willis.
Underage with 14 cases of beer in a Volkswagen.
And that's not the only reason I'm glad I went, but once I was there, I realized that I sucked at bench chemistry.
At bench chemistry?
Yeah, so like in the lab, wearing a lab coat, doing experiments, that's bench chemistry. And I am not good at it. Mike Willis, in contrast, was really good at it.
And
He
what makes someone
knew-
good at bench chemistry or not good at bench
I have
chemistry?
no idea.
Okay.
Like if I knew, I probably would still be
Be
a
doing that?
scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to do things 3 times to get them to work. Everything he did worked the first time.
And that's just like natural, God-given.
We called it having good hands.
Ooh, okay, okay, interesting.
Having good hands.
I feel like that's a big doctor term. My dad says that too.
Having good hands?
Yeah, like there are people who like go to orthopedic school.
Yeah.
And you like get to the point where you're doing surgery, but then they never had good hands.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
they-
like they did all the school, they did all the work, but
Yeah.
they still just like didn't have
Weren't quite there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what made you realize you didn't have good hands?
Because I would have to do things 3 times.
Okay.
And the other thing is that I would look at the clock and go, well, damn, I got time for another experiment.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Shoot.
And again, in comparison to Mike Willis, he's in the lab till midnight with lasers and his hair's on fire. He just has no idea. Like he was designed for it and I just was not.
Okay.
And so
And was
then
that disappoint? Like, were you like sad because that you thought that was going to be your path and then it wasn't?
I was getting really scared that I was going to spend all this time in school and end up doing a job I hated.
Okay.
And so, and actually, this is going to be a shout out to your dad.
Shout out to Andre.
We went out to dinner, he was visiting, and he said something about, I think, because we were talking about when you have babies.
When
over
was
dinner.
this?
This is before he knew your mom.
Oh, wow.
Before we were married. It was a long time ago.
Wow, okay.
And he was saying something about like he knew some people that had babies the first couple years of medical school, and that seemed like a good time to do it to him. And he said something else about you could still go to medical school, Mary. And I went, I could go to medical school.
Really?
Yes.
And were you just like,
He didn't.
that's-
I didn't go to medical school because your dad told me to.
Okay.
So don't get that impression. But he just planted the seed in my head. And ever since that dinner, I was thinking about it and thinking about it. And I was like, I think I wasn't supposed to be in biochemistry. I think I was supposed to be in medical sciences because I really want to know how stuff works.
Okay. And
And
to
so-
figure out how stuff works.
Yeah, like how your body works and why do you get sick?
And that's why you go to medical
Why do you
school.
need to take vitamins and all of that. I just wanted to know how it worked.
Okay.
And I was going to go to medical school and I was going to be a cancer doctor because that's really romantic and you're saving lives and it sounds really great. And
But, where's the but?
and it is really great and I'm so grateful to the people that do it, but it's also, there's a lot of it that's not really great because people feel awful and they're crabby and it's a slow process, and the life saving takes place over months, and it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So I did an internship in medical school and realized that was not going to be my path.
And were you, and did you have, how much of your education did you pay for? Or take debt in?
I paid for, I had my student loans.
Okay.
And I had my own money, and my mom didn't have any money.
Okay.
But sadly, when she died, exactly as much as I owed in student loans was what I inherited from her.
No way.
Yeah. And she told me, this is what I want you to do with the money. I felt bad that I could not pay for college, and I want you to do this with your money. And so I did. So I didn't have anything left.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's an amazing story, because otherwise I would have been in a lot of debt. And it's hard to pay off debt when you're young. And I got to be done with medical school and have no debt.
So wait, how old were you when she died?
I had just graduated medical school.
And so that just aligned?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 1999. Long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the weirdest like blessing, but also like not.
Yeah, you'd kind of rather have your mom.
Yeah, of course.
But I know that made her happy to think that she was going to be able to pay for my school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got lucky.
Yeah. But did you get your PhD before your MD?
I finished my PhD first, yeah.
Okay. And what is getting, like, to people who don't know, and I don't know either, what does it getting a PhD even like entail?
You do a couple years of classes, and then you do research until you have enough new data to write a thesis.
And is that adding to like the
greater knowledge
of medicine?
Greater science knowledge, yeah.
So you're contributing to the progression of medicine while you're getting your PhD?
Well, I was contributing to the progression of biochemistry, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so then when you have your PhD, what does that actually mean? Because it sounds fancy and it's just a term, but like, does that mean that you're certified to do this work, or does that mean, hey, I added a significant enough contribution to the medical system, or what does that actually like entail?
I think what it means is you know enough about the scientific method to be trusted to do it on your own.
Okay.
To continue a life in research.
So that's
on your own without the guidance of your professor who was running the lab and who you worked for.
So that's what that checkbox kind of.
So that's what that means. A lot of people do a postdoc because they're not really ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, or because that's just kind of how things have gone, that you have to do a postdoc in some areas.
True. You got your PhD, and
so I finished my PhD. I went to medical school. I tried to quit medical school. My mom told me I was being lazy and to stick it out. She'd never said anything negative to me in my whole life, and she's like, this medical school is really hard. I don't know. I think this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And she was like, honey, I love you, but you're lazy. And everything has come easy to you in your life, and
everything has come easy.
You need to stick this out. And I was like, Mom. But I stayed.
How far into it were you when you wanted to quit?
A week.
A week? Wow.
Yeah. It was really hard. Medical school is really hard. They expect you to memorize a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I mean, it seems like you, well, and we'll get into this more later, but it seems like you have a lot of stuff memorized.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I figured out how to memorize stuff.
How do you memorize stuff? Because I know all the STEM, it's hilarious. So I go to school at Chapman, and I have friends that are in STEM.
Yeah.
And they actually have to like work for their degrees versus I kind of just show up for mine. No, I work, but
I know you work.
But they're doing internships at hospitals, and you have your shift, and you have to memorize all the stuff, and they're studying for the MCAT.
MCAT, yeah, that's if you want to go to medical school.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yep.
Versus like there's no MCAT for the film industry, you know.
No. Would it be easier if there was? And then you could just weed through, and anybody who didn't, make the cut just wasn't there.
That's an interesting
taking
question,
up jobs and.
Because there's pros and cons. It's like, well, the pros of there not being like so for film. Also, I only found 3 cucumbers.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
I have 3 in the.
Give me another job. 05.
Okay. Now we don't want all of this to die, so you're going to make it so the stems are all in it, and then you're going to use that hose and fill water.
The stems are all in it.
In the bowl.
Okay,
in the
got
bowl.
it. Okay.
And I'm going to keep picking green beans.
Beautiful. But wait, oh yeah, so tips for those STEM kids out there.
How to memorize? God,
Yeah.
I don't know. Have it be fun. Study with other people.
Okay.
We had all these great silly mnemonics where you
Mnemonic.
spell a word,
Yeah.
and the letter, each letter in the word is the first letter of something you're trying to remember in a group.
Okay.
So, mud piles, for instance.
I love how you still know this.
Of course I know it. Mud piles is how you remember all the things that cause metabolic acidosis in a patient.
What's metabolic acidosis?
When the acid in your blood is out of whack, where your blood's too acidic,
Okay.
in a way that makes it think that you have an acid that's in your blood that shouldn't be there.
Okay. So wait, what's the acronym stand for?
Really? Gonna make me go through that?
Yes, I am.
I don't think I can come up with it. U is uremia. M is... I'm sorry, to any doctors who might listen to this ever,
Wow.
I
You're
apologize.
You're a phony.
That I cannot
You're
come
a
up with it.
phony.
Well, because, okay, in my defense, what I do now involves only one or two of the things in mud piles. So,
In your pile?
huh? No.
One or two of the things in your what?
So something that can cause acid in your blood is if you have enzymes in your body that don't degrade food correctly.
Okay.
Okay, and that's called a metabolic disease or a biochemical genetic disorder, and that's what I know. That's what I know. And so that's just a few of the letters of mud piles.
Okay.
And so I forgot all the other ones because I don't need to know them.
There you go. So this is interesting to ask to STEM people.
Yeah.
So you go to school to learn things that you use on a daily basis.
Yes.
And so you finished your MD and your PhD. Well, actually, I still need to talk about that, but real quick.
Yeah.
How much of big spider. But how much of are you on a daily basis?
Yeah.
And someone will be like this thing, and you'll be like, oh, medical school. Thank you, medical school. I learned so much from being in school for 40 years.
It happened to me just the other day.
There you go.
I had to remember. Get away! You're gonna.
These are the
butterflies. I'm
culprits.
chasing the butterflies away because
They do be pretty, but
lay
they do be-
eggs and their babies eat my leaves.
Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Also, what else?
You
should I
just
do?
have to I was seeing a patient and she was here for one thing, but it turned out something else was going on with her, and I had to remember how kidneys work, even though I'm not a kidney doctor, to do the right thing for her.
Okay.
So it's still in there. But I always read if I'm unsure, because I don't trust myself to know everything.
To just spit out stuff.
I spit out a lot. I can come up with a lot on the spot. But if it's important, especially if there's an important medical decision that needs to be made, or if it's it's going to matter a lot to somebody's life or their kids
you might read
or
up on
whatever,
it.
I definitely will read.
Yeah.
I definitely will read.
Okay, cool.
Plus, my field, everything is changing constantly, and what was true about neurofibromatosis last year is not true about neurofibromatosis this year.
That's insane.
So I always have to be learning. That's why I like what I do, because I can never just sort of rest on my laurels, as they say.
Always changing. I think people, I didn't understand that until I had to go get my blood clot stuff done, but I thought medicine was like doctrine. It's like everything is set in stone, and this is what we know, and it's always been that way, and it will forever be that way.
Yeah, no. Not even close.
But earlier you said how you chat a lot and like to say things.
Yeah.
So how much of doing your job, which we will also get into this, how much of doing your job is making educated decisions based off of prior knowledge, but you're making decisions on things that you don't really know, that aren't fact, but they're speculation based on,
All the time.
all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
So it's not like this is set in stone.
No.
It's based on things I know and have done in the past, this is what I think.
Yeah. So let's say, this baby's head is small.
Okay.
And these are the things that we know can cause a baby's head to be small. And we know that this and this happened when the mom was pregnant. And so I can deduce that I think this is the most likely reason the baby's head is small. I mean, that's medicine.
Yeah.
That's what you do every day.
Deduction.
Deduction. And I might even do it more often just because, again, what I do is there's not a ton that's known about a lot of the diseases I take care of.
Yeah.
Because they're super crazy rare.
And what do you do?
What do I do?
What's like your formal job title? I don't think we've even said that yet.
I'm a clinical geneticist.
Okay.
That means I see patients with genetic conditions and I diagnose genetic conditions.
Okay. And how? What percentage of the genetic conditions are known that you diagnose?
What does that mean?
So like, does someone come in ever and then there's a new thing you haven't seen before?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Just because I've never heard of paramyotonia, which is the case, the first patient I met with paramyotonia. Just because I've never heard of it before doesn't mean it's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't mean that I'm not expected to be the expert because there's nobody else in my hospital that does what I do. So it's genetic.
Yeah.
Ask Dr. Willis. So then I have to learn and become the expert in paramyotonia to tell this family what the risk to their baby is.
So there's
do
no
that
other person.
all the time.
That's crazy. So there's no other person you'd be like, oh, I don't know what this is. Let me go talk to them. It's like
If it's their field. So like.
But in genetics.
In genetics.
You're the doctor.
At my hospital.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, most geneticists work in like a genetics department and
Yeah.
they have partners and they bounce ideas off each other.
But
And so I will email other people or I will even call other docs to say, hey, I got this crazy situation going on. What do you think? What should I do?
yeah.
What should I do differently? But I usually end up feeling good about my decisions.
That's good.
So I trust myself at this point in my career.
How long did it take to establish trust in yourself?
This is a lot of years, actually. Yeah.
Was there a definitive moment?
No.
Okay.
There was not an aha moment.
Oh, I trust myself now.
No. It was just like little things one at a time where, you know, everybody's wondering what's going on with this baby. The baby's sick. What's happening? And I walk in the room and I look at the baby and I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And that's what makes people think I'm really smart because they're like, we couldn't figure it out. And she just walked in the room and knew what it was. And again, it has to do, I know stuff they don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so it's not people thinking that you're smart. It's that you're smart.
Possibly.
You are smart.
I'm smart.
I think you're smart.
I'm smart.
Yes.
I don't assume
deny
that I'm
that.
smarter than anybody else that I'm around though,
That's good.
because that would be cocky,
It would be.
and that's not me.
That's not good.
That's not me.
But so you don't know a lot of the stuff that you're dealing with, but is that because you're not familiar with it or because some of it literally hasn't been seen before?
More the latter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So like people come in with something that's like not never happened.
Yeah.
Never happened?
Yeah.
Really?
So yeah. So because we can now sequence every gene in our body, sort of.
What does that mean?
Oh God. Okay. Our genes are DNA, right? We have 20,000 genes.
Okay.
Those are all the instructions in the instruction book to make and run a human body. We carry a copy of our genes in every cell of our body, and we actually get a full set from mom and a full set from dad. So you have 2 copies of each gene. And in the old days, when I actually started doing this work, you had to look at a patient and say, I think you have neurofibromatosis because of how you look. Helicopter.
Helicopter, loud noises.
And that's how you made a diagnosis. You didn't do gene testing because gene testing was really expensive. When I started doing what I was doing, a single gene was $2,000. And now I can sequence essentially every gene in the body for $2,000.
Wow.
So
wait,
it's
so
gotten
when
cheaper.
so I guess I misunderstood this.
Yeah.
So when you're diagnosing what's wrong with someone,
Mm-hmm.
you don't be like, based on this, this, and this. Well, you do that too, probably.
Mm-hmm. I
But
do
you
both.
literally will take like a blood sample or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a gene sequence of fibromyalgia. I don't know why I said fibromyalgia. That's like from a commercial.
It's not a genetic
Okay,
thing.
give
It's
me a genetic disease. that has a crazy-
sickle cell disease.
Okay, so do you do the genetic sequence test and then you compare it to someone with sickle cell disease, and if those tests match, then you're like, you have sickle cell disease?
There's a way to do that, but that's not how gene testing works, really.
How does gene testing
Gene
work
testing
then?
looks for mistakes in so like genes are spelled out in the letters of DNA, and it's looking for mistakes in the spelling. So
Ooh.
that the gene no longer works.
That's a good analogy.
So so we look for mutations, or what we used to call mutations.
What do you call them now?
Pathogenic variants.
Why'd they change the name?
Because when you find changes in DNA, when we started like sequencing all these genes,
Yeah.
we figured out that there's a lot of differences. My genes are different from yours, but only about 1%. But 1% of 20,000 is a lot of changes. And so we started sequencing genes and we're like, wait, some of these are probably just normal human variation. They're not all mutations. And so now we say things are variants, so not the typical sequence, but they might be benign variants. They might be pathogenic variants.
My brain is like really trying to. I'm like, listen.
You're looking at me like you're understanding
I'm like,
me.
I get it.
You're like, I'm almost there.
Words.
Yeah. So you asked the question.
No, I know.
Yeah. So that's why, because we realized that we didn't necessarily know which genetic changes were mutations and which weren't. So we called them something else.
That's good.
I
So
still
was
use
that,
mutation, though.
Was that one of those things that changed?
In my career?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's changed. Because we didn't used to sequence whole genomes, but now we
Okay.
do. So.
Do you sequence every patient?
No.
Okay.
Because I can still
Just based off of
look
like,
at somebody
this is
and
the
know what they
evidence?
have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can look. There's certain chromosome abnormalities if you have. So your chromosomes are the packages of genes.
Okay.
And so sometimes babies are born and they have an extra copy of a chromosome. So do you know what Down syndrome is?
I do know.
So that is an extra copy of chromosome 21.
Okay.
And that messes with things because you're only supposed to have 2 and only 2 copies of some of the genes
One
on
from
that
your
chromosome.
mom and your dad?
Yeah.
And then will one be not a mutation, but like will that just like happen? How does that even, so an extra copy of chromosome 21?
Yeah.
Did that just mutate randomly? Is it
It's
like luck of the draw,
a
or is it?
mistake of biology.
Okay.
A mistake of human biology. So are new mutations. It's just,
Like the things you deal with, they just happen. Okay.
yeah. Sometimes they've been running in families for years and years.
Okay.
And sometimes they're new in patients. And so we're finding all these new genes they're not new genes. We already knew they were there. We just didn't know they caused this particular disease.
Okay.
So I've had a couple now, probably 5 different patients where we found a change in a gene. It was a gene that nobody knew caused disease, but there's ways that you can connect with geneticists around the world. And if enough of us have all found changes in that same gene, we compare our patients and we say, hey, this might be actually a syndrome that nobody found before. And then you write a paper and now it's a new syndrome. So
That's crazy.
I've been part of that in 5 new disease-causing genes.
Really? So you've helped like find.
I helped describe 5 new diseases.
What was one of them, for example?
Well, then they don't have cute names.
The names don't have to be cute.
Well, you just call them the name of the gene associated syndrome.
Okay.
We used to name things after the people that described them, but like Dr. Opitz was a geneticist a while back, and he's got like 10 different disorders named after him, so people get confused.
Oh,
Wait, they're like, is
different
this Opitz G, or is this Smith-Opitz, or Smith-Lemley Opitz, or is this Opitz Carvagia, or this is like they.
Oh my gosh.
So it's better to just name it by the gene, I think.
Okay.
So. What else do you want to know?
That's it. We're done.
We're done.
No.
We're
so
done.
why even genetics?
Again, I just kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I went into pediatrics after medical school because I didn't like adults as patients as much as kids.
What was that decision?
Well, kids generally don't smell bad, and and they're cute, and their disease isn't really their fault for the most part, whereas humans have bad habits and adults, and they, you're like, well, you're in liver failure, so you should probably quit drinking, and then they just keep drinking, and so that was depressing. I didn't like that. Okay. I'd rather care for children whose disease is not their fault. Nothing they do.
Things just happen to them.
Things just happen to them, and somebody needs to take care of them, and that's what I liked.
Yeah.
So I did that.
But that's interesting because, like, the flip side of that would be, well, taking care of adults then would be easier because the solution is your liver is going to fail, so stop drinking, versus, like that seems like the simple solution to address, like, part of the problem, versus with you, because they didn't do anything, then it's...
I can't fix it. Yeah, my husband gives me a hard time about, he's like, you can't fix anybody. You just tell them what's wrong with them. And I'm like, kinda.
That's kind of deep. That's interesting.
Kinda, yeah. I can't, some things are treatable.
Okay.
And you wouldn't want to miss it, because if you can treat it, you don't want, like, if a kid has a problem with their metabolism that's causing a toxic chemical to build up in their body, and you can find that out and you can do something differently for them, you can save their brain.
Yeah.
You can save them from dying. And so you don't want to miss those. You want to be able to recognize those kinds of diseases.
What percentage of the time are you fixing versus finding?
Usually finding.
Usually finding?
Overwhelmingly, most of the time I'm finding.
And so then why does Mr. Mike Willis, why does he give you shit for that then?
Oh, he just likes to tease me. Like, what kind of a doctor are you? You can't fix anything.
That's crazy. Does it bother you that you can't, like, always fix things?
I don't look at it that way.
Okay.
I don't look at that.
How do you look at it?
I look at it that I get to diagnose things that blow my mind because they're just so interesting, and you can't even believe that bodies work that way. And I also get to help people have healthy babies after they've had a baby die, for instance. So if I can figure out why their baby is dying, I can give that to them, so at least they know. Because if you know why a baby has something awful, the parents can take themselves off the hook. They don't have to think, well, maybe this is something I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially moms. Especially moms. Moms carry a lot of guilt about that.
Yeah.
So if you make a diagnosis, you go, guess what? Nothing you had any control over.
Okay.
This was genetic, it was biochemistry, it was biology that went bad. It's not your fault. And so...
So you're there to be the person who's assuring that it's not their fault.
Yeah. I make a diagnosis, and then I can tell them this isn't something you did. And if I can figure out what it is, you can test a future pregnancy. Or you can even test embryos before you put them inside moms.
To see if they have...
To see if they have the genetic disorder. So
you're preventative medicine in a weird way a lot of the
yes,
time.
I'm preventing the birth of children with awful things.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
That's crazy.
So I think that's worth doing.
I do too. I didn't think it was before, but now I do. I don't think what you're doing is worth it. I don't think you should do it.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. So anyway. So yeah, you got your first job.
First job when I was 40.
How? Like, that's so Emma, your daughter,
yes,
just quit volleyball after 12 years.
Yes.
And you had been going to school for 40 years.
Yeah.
And then you were, like, done with school, done with tests.
Done with training.
Do you remember your last, like, training test walking out of school? And were you like, oh, I like know that this is over and I'm sad, or you're like, thank God?
Well, it was sort of at that, because residency really is, I mean, it's school, but it's not school, like, because you're still being a doctor, but you're still learning.
Yeah.
So when I was done with pediatric residency, that was a relief. I was done, and I'd done all my lectures, and I'd done all my tests, and yeah, that was a relief. But then I actually did pediatrics for like a year and a half and was miserable because it was the same thing over and over again. I didn't want to keep diagnosing ear infections.
I have a cold, yeah.
Yeah, I was just...
So you did standard, like, family medicine, essentially?
I did pediatrics, yeah, where you see babies. I actually worked in an urgent care for a little while.
Okay.
So diagnosing, broken wrists and pneumonia.
And that was just boring to you?
It didn't, no.
Yeah.
No, I sort of quit learning, and I'd been learning for so long. And so I wandered into Dr. Ken Jones' office, he's a world-renowned geneticist who happened
Yeah.
to be at UCSD, and I'm like, do you guys have fellows? And he's like, sit down, Mary, let me tell you.
I'm bored.
How fabulous it is to be a geneticist. And he totally sold me on it.
And how old were you?
36
Okay.
or so. And yeah, he sold me on it, and I said, great, I'll be a genetics fellow. And 2 weeks into it, I was home.
Really?
2 weeks in, I was just like, oh my God, this is what I was meant to do.
How'd you know that?
I was there.
It's such
I
an
just got
interesting
there.
thing, because I still haven't had that, and I
Yeah.
talk to people like you who like have that feeling, and it seems like the craziest thing that could happen, or not the craziest, but like pretty insane, where you show up and you're like, this is it.
I'm super lucky.
Yeah.
I think most people don't necessarily feel that way about their job, or don't have that moment where they're like, oh, this is what I always wanted
Yeah.
to do. And I didn't know it was what I wanted to do until I did it.
Yeah.
So
Why did you not settle? Because I think some people settle. Like, for example, you were 36 when you were doing pediatrics, like at an urgent care, and you had kids by
like
then,
that.
right?
Yeah. I had
And,
both my
like,
kids by then.
Both your kids,
Yeah.
dealing with all that stuff, and then like you're like more school, like not just work anymore. Like I'm still gonna go to school. Like that's pretty insane that you did that on top of being a new mother,
Yeah.
dealing with all the crap that you've had to deal with, and then still being like, no, I'm not done. I'm gonna keep going back.
Well, I wasn't
Satisfied.
content yet.
Yeah.
I wasn't there kind of a bit selfish, don't you
Yeah.
think? For me to go back. My husband
No.
has got a job, and I'm like, I'm going to keep not earning money.
I don't think. Well, that's the question, right? When you have kids,
Yeah.
it becomes like about. Well, I'm not a parent, so I don't know. But it seems like it like becomes more than just about you, right? It's like, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then, yeah, I guess you could argue. I don't think it's selfish, but I guess it's
I
like.
don't think Mike would tell you that he thought I was being selfish.
But did you think that, at that point that you were being selfish for doing that? Because you have to. Like, you have to like follow what you want to do. You know.
I knew that I couldn't not do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, I make it sound like it was so fabulous. I struggled. I was like, oh shit, am I doing the right thing? And is this the right choice for me? And yeah, but it is. I love what I do. I can talk about what I do for hours.
That's
It's
what we're
super
doing.
interesting, like what we're doing. We don't have to talk about what I do the whole time though.
True.
But actually we haven't. So,
We haven't talked about what you do.
well, we did. We said I diagnose people
True.
that have weird stuff.
Why do you do now what you do still?
Well, I am the only person earning money in my family now.
That's true.
So, Mike's retired, and that's not true. He's doing other things that earn money, but mine is the main job. Mine is the insurance. So yeah, I do it for that. But it's thrilling. It's thrilling to do what I do. I get to be a part of people's lives and this amazing moments of their life, and the amazing in not always a good way.
Yeah.
So, and I love making new diagnoses. I love helping people through learning about their kid's diagnosis, which is not always a happy one.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I give bad news a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But I think I'm good at it for the most part. And so if you have to get bad news, you want to get it from somebody who
Is good at.
does it well. Yeah.
How did you I guess not acquire that skill, but how did you like begin to learn about that? And we talked about yesterday how in med school you learn about genetics and you learn about, or I don't know if that was in med school, but you know what I mean. In school you learn about all these things, but something you don't learn about is like how to tell
Yeah.
parents that their kid's gonna die in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So what part of like being a geneticist did you know going into it that that's what you'd end up doing a lot, is like giving bad news? And when you got there, when did you realize that this is what I do a lot of the time?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did you learn to become skilled at doing it and doing it the right way to make like that family feel the best that they can?
I learned it over the training in genetics because it's happening,
Yeah.
as you're training, and you see your mentors give bad news. And I think that the way I learned the most was watching people who did it badly, actually. You know, people who compare a child having uneven ears to a child born with no arms. Like I heard somebody, a doctor, trying to explain something to a family who had a child with no arms, and he made a comparison to somebody with uneven ears.
Yeah.
And you could see right there, the family was done. They were not going to listen to another word he said. And I was just like, okay, that was badly done. Not going to do that.
Yeah.
And you also saw people that did it well, and you could see, because you have to watch people's faces when they're getting the news to see how it's going in. And so I had to learn to read faces, and I had to learn to tell when I was not making any more sense. You make it hard because I'm looking at you and you act like I'm making sense.
I'm not listening to you. I'm thinking about the next question I would ask, so I'm not even listening to what you're saying. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so.
No, but that's been a big issue. I'm just checking the camera. That used to be an issue in these podcasts.
Yeah. And
when I talk to like not big people, but like people who I'm like, time is of the essence. Like, you got 30 minutes, dude. I would, like Fred North, the guy I just talked to, that was like question in my head constantly, but that can inhibit the conversation then. Because if you don't listen and you just hear what someone's saying, but you're not listening, it's not gonna end well.
Well, then it's gonna end differently.
It's gonna end differently.
It's gonna end differently.
And you're not gonna ask quality questions because instead of letting them carry the conversation.
Yes.
You're just saying, oh, cool. And then like asking the whatever you had lined up.
Right.
Like I did that. I used to write every question I wanted down because I was like, this. And so they'd be like, oh, and my mom died. And I'd be like, so like, what is your favorite fast food? Or like some like weird, like they'd bring up something that's interesting, but I wouldn't even be listening because I was just like, I need to ask the next question.
Yeah.
So. But
live and learn.
Yeah, so you had to deal with telling the parents and stuff like that, and just. And
I learn every time I do it poorly too. Like, or if I can just tell like that didn't go as well as I would like it to, and I try to not beat myself up too much when that happens.
Yeah.
And just learn from it. So that happened to me recently. I didn't feel good about the way I had talked to a family, and it's still bugging me. I'd rather not say, actually, because it's still bugging me.
Yeah.
So, but I will definitely learn about it. I'll learn what I did wrong. And I'm very, I think, humble. Like when I screw up, I admit it.
Yeah.
And when somebody else gets the answer before I do, I love to get the answer first.
Okay. Also, can I do anything? I'm just standing here.
Yeah. I'm about done with everything that needed to happen out here for the most part. Actually, you want like grunt labor?
Yes.
Pick all the dead flowers off.
Heck yeah! Where'd my gloves go? Boom.
You can use my new little scissors.
Ooh.
And just like, or it might just break off. I just have a little more tomato plant trimming to do.
Grunt work, perfect.
Yes, you are the grunt.
Oh, the grunt.
You are the grunt. So, but like if a medical resident that I'm teaching says, do you think this could be this syndrome? And it was before it had occurred to me. I'm like, dude, you nailed it.
Yeah.
Like, you beat me. You got it.
That's
I can't pretend like I was just waiting to see if you'd come up with it.
Yeah, that's interesting how that's competitive to you.
It is competitive.
Yeah. But does that drive you to better places?
Probably. My husband would say no.
Why would he say no?
He thinks when we compete with each other, it's bad for our marriage.
Really?
It's good that we do different things.
You guys compete like because you're both really smart people and you have different opinions on things?
Yeah.
Okay, truth.
Our worst argument ever was over the evolution of RNA viruses.
Of RNA what?
RNA viruses.
I might know of one.
We were talking about
COVID-19.
How RNA viruses might evolve. We were actually talking about HIV at the time, but
okay.
And I was like, no, I think it could be this way, and he's like, no, it could be this way, and we just got
heated
over that, which is absurd when you think about it. It's like it's evolution, so you can't really.
Were you like yelling at each other over it?
Mike's a very calm
Okay.
arguer.
Yeah.
He does not like raised voices, and so I've had to stem my. I would like to yell, scream, and slam doors.
Yeah.
But I try to keep it under control.
And he's good at that?
He is very good at that. He very rarely loses his shit.
That's good. But yeah, so you think like being competitive within your field has helped you be better at it?
But I'm not competing in a way that some people do. So like geneticists want to be the first to scoop, that are doing research. Like they want their research published first in the better journal. They want to be the first person to come up with something. And I don't care about that. I just like to win.
That's
Making a diagnosis is a win.
okay.
And when anybody makes the diagnosis, it's a win. But I want to do it.
We're all winning, but I want to do it. That's funny.
I like being like House.
Okay.
Like that guy, House.
I don't know that guy House.
On the TV show House.
What is he like?
I didn't even watch the TV show, but I am told that the weirdest stuff that no one else can figure out in the whole hospital, he can figure out.
Okay.
And I like to be that person.
So you're that guy.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
Cool.
So.
So then God. I can't wait till the day where I can like have a conversation.
And not say, so then yeah.
Yeah.
I'll forgive you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need other transitions. But so you work for the military.
I do.
How did that happen as far as getting, because you like a pediatric geneticist?
I'm just a geneticist.
Okay,
I see
cool.
adults too.
So do you see only people in the military?
Yeah, or their dependents.
Okay.
Or retired military.
Got it. And so how military? Why military? How did that like end up happening? And how has that changed your job? And how has that been different from what you would have done as a geneticist in not the military?
There's so many questions there. I took the job because there were 2 jobs available when I was done with my training.
Okay.
And that was one of them.
What was the other one?
Kaiser.
Kaiser Permanente.
Yeah. And the military job was willing to be a lot more flexible with what I wanted to do. Which at the time I wanted to keep working over at UCSD in their metabolic clinic.
Okay.
And I wanted the chance to maybe be clinical faculty for UCSD. So I was going to take away some of my time from my work at the Navy to teach and still be a part of the university.
Yeah.
And
is that just because of like everything's happening at the university?
Everything's happening, and also I like to teach.
Okay.
And you don't get a chance to teach when you're over at
Kaiser.
You're at Kaiser. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took that job, and that's how I got there. And I should probably say that the opinions I am expressing are not those of the Navy, the military, or the United States government.
There you go.
Because that is something that we are supposed to say.
Really?
Yeah. If I ever identify myself as part of a military thing, you're sort of supposed to say that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I said it. Now you have to leave it on.
Yeah, I will leave it on. This is not the opinion of the United States government.
Disclosure.
So how is that, have there been any like unique opportunities or things that you didn't expect
Oh, yeah.
that came from working for the military?
Oh, I'm so lucky I landed in this job because I don't have to get insurance approval
Insurance approval, what does that
to order a genetic test that somebody needs done.
Oh.
Because it's just all within the military
Oh,
health
like
system.
health insurance approval.
But health insurance approval. But on the other hand, there's this, there's this a finite amount of money, and so you can't be wasteful for it. So you still have to make good decisions and not just order stuff willy-nilly.
Yeah.
But I don't have to have somebody who doesn't have any medical training at all telling me what I can and cannot order, which is the situation for doctors that have to charge insurance. Kaiser is actually more like the military.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
there's still, they have sort of a different set of checks and balances.
Yeah.
But it's been nice to just have that freedom.
And how long have you worked for the military?
Almost 14 years, I think.
Okay. And what rank are you?
I'm not.
You're what?
I'm just a government employee.
Okay.
I'm a GS.
GS, true.
Yeah. But
That's
there's
cool.
many opportunities when you work in the military. The military has younger people in positions of authority. And
Like officers and stuff?
yeah.
That
So
went
like,
to like one of the schools or something like that?
So the people who I trained are now my boss.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So, but the person I'm talking about does a great job, so I don't mind, and I'm perfectly happy for her to have to do the headache of being somebody's boss, and
Yeah.
I'm nobody's boss, so I like that. Again, very content, happy where I'm at.
Enough, yeah.
Enough. I got enough.
That's good.
Yeah.
And would you ever see yourself leaving the military and doing a different, like working somewhere else? Or do you think
I have looked into it. I have thought about it, and I decided that I did not want to. I decided I wanted to stay working where I'm at until I retire.
True.
And I don't know how much longer I'll work. I can retire, actually. I'm old. I can retire in a couple of years. So I might not. Like, could I really leave it all? I don't think so.
Just because you like it?
Just because I like it.
That's so good.
Like, I love this, and I want as much time to do this and to go camping and to travel and see, visit my kids and all of that. I want more time for that. So retirement sounds nice from that standpoint, but I want to still have my brain need to think like it does. I want to keep learning stuff.
Challenge yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get like bleh.
Yeah.
No.
What real quick,
Yep.
and then I'll stop talking about your job.
That's okay.
But what's the best and the worst thing about doing what you do?
Okay, the best thing is
Start with the worst thing and on the
Okay.
best thing.
The worst thing are patients that don't have a genetic condition, but they want you to diagnose them with one so they can make excuses for themselves.
Wow.
So there's conditions where you can have a lot of pain in your body. And if somebody wants an excuse to continue to take their narcotics, for instance, wouldn't it be handy if they have a genetic condition that's
blame
not
it
their
on?
fault that makes it so they can keep taking their pain medication?
Are there kids that do that?
It's usually adults.
So you deal with adults too?
Yeah.
Or young adults?
Young adults,
Okay.
usually. But my oldest patient was 74.
Okay. So it's not just kids for
No.
the genetic. Okay.
No, it's anybody.
Cool.
There's more kids because that's when more things show
Happen.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I definitely see adults. So just patients, and actually they're the kind of patients that I tried to leave behind and why I didn't want to do adult medicine.
Okay.
So when those sorts of patients come in where they're like not willing to help themselves and wanting to blame everything else for their problems
Yeah.
and not taking responsibility and not doing what you tell them to do to make themselves better, that's the worst. But I think that's probably the worst part of any doctor's job.
Yeah.
I don't think that's unique to what I do at all.
And the best part?
And the best part is when a family comes back and says, "Thank you for what you did."
Oh. That's cool.
And sometimes they say, "Thank you for what you did." You know that mug that you were making fun of?
Yeah.
It says you're the best.
Yeah, I wrongly made fun of a mug.
No, it was a mug that said something about being an amazing woman.
Yes.
And that was given to me by a family whose baby had passed away, and I had helped diagnose that baby. And they gave me a gift basket. And that was one of the things in it because I had been there for them in the hardest time of their life.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, you can't, like, I could live that moment over and over again. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, that's happened to me, not every day,
But a
but
lot.
it's happened to me enough times that it, excuse me, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing, you know?
I'm actually not going to stop talking to you about your job.
Okay.
So when you first started out your job, you obviously knew that entailed telling mothers that their baby's going to die or something bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Did that ever like when did that start getting to you? And when did you become I don't think numb to it is the right word, but you become, it's so normal that
Oh no, it's never normal.
it's never still?
No, it's never normal.
Okay. So you haven't gotten to the emotional point where it's become like
No.
standard? Okay.
No, I think what you're talking about is sort of how does an ER doc see patients come in, destroyed and
Yeah.
and just keep going. I look at it like I am in a very privileged place to be going through something with a family that's probably their most significant thing they're going to go through in their life. And I get to be there with them.
That's crazy.
It's privileged. Doesn't mean I don't cry on
Yeah.
occasion. I'll have days where, a baby I diagnosed and he dies. I'll go to my office and I'll have a few tears by myself, and then I can go on. I can leave it at work.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, every once in a while Mike can tell I've had a bad day, or if I've had 2 of those sorts of events in one day, that can be tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can go on. Like, because
It's never bothered you, like, outside of work, like day to day? None of those things
something
like,
that
stick
just
with you?
torments me?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, there's horrible stories. There's things that I wish hadn't, happened to families that I had to see.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't torment me. I don't know why. I just feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like what's happening to my patients is nobody's fault. It's biology. And if I can help people through this sort of accident of biology, like nobody did anything wrong. There's nobody to punish. There's nothing somebody should have done differently. I think it's the should have done differently ones that stick with me, whether it's something I felt like I should have done differently or somebody else.
True.
But when it's just like, this is just happening to people, if I can help them through, like, that's always going to feel good. That's always going to be a good thing. It can still suck and you can still cry with them and it's still super sad. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's just that it's a good thing to do. I feel like I do it well, and so I want to do it and keep doing it.
Hell yeah. We've gotten to the point in the conversation where I'm asking the new question
Okay.
that I like to ask.
Okay.
Well, we'll start with one.
Okay.
Which is, and it's funny because it's partly true, but also something that I want to do, which is there anything you wanted to talk about? And it's funny because it sounds like I'm out of questions.
Yeah.
Which, in some ways, I am. I could come up with more things, but I think it's sometimes better to just straight up ask that.
Yeah.
So then you can talk about things that you feel like you want to talk about, like being a mom, or other parts of your life, like your hobbies, your La Jolla friends.
My La Jolla friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I'm not a very interesting person outside of work.
Okay.
I think that's the thing that makes me an interesting person. Maybe that's not true, but it's what's unique about me.
What do you do outside work?
Garden.
Alas, here we are.
Garden.
I love that word.
This is non-toxic.
Okay.
This is neem oil. This is organic gardening.
Neem.
Yes, we can eat these vegetables today, but it
For
kills
clarification,
what? Oh.
it's non-toxic.
It's non-toxic. I'm spraying it all over myself and you.
I'm going to keep moving around and touching things to pretend like and look like I'm doing something.
Okay, you can keep going. I feel like there's more leaves that you could pick up over there.
Okay, I'll do that.
There's some grass that you could pull right there.
Okay,
I
I'll do
mean,
that.
you
Dude, there's stuff
keep
to
doing
do.
the stuff that's not very fun because I don't want to do it. That's fine.
So you do it.
Yes, you can do it.
Cool.
I like to cook. I like to come up with new ways to cook. I like to be outside and to camp.
Okay.
I love being outside. I don't do it enough. I want to write a book about what I do eventually.
Okay. What's it going to be called?
I don't know.
What do you want to write about?
I want to write about all the crazy stuff that walks in my office.
In your what?
In my office.
True.
Like there are many days that somebody comes in with something, and like I said before, you just can't believe that's even a thing.
Yeah.
Until it walks in your office. Like,
what is the craziest thing that's walked into your office? Like most memorable, holy shit, how is that even possible?
Well, there's this, and I don't, For the sake of patience, I won't tell you anything that's very specific, but
Yeah.
like a baby that was called baby girl at one hospital, but turned out to have ambiguous genitalia. So where their parts looked sort of halfway girl, halfway boy, and so was admitted to a different hospital as baby boy.
Wow.
So so insurance didn't want to pay for one of the hospitalizations because they said it was for the wrong patient. That's jaw-dropping, right?
That's insane.
Like that could even happen. Yeah. So, yeah, something like that. Don't you think? Like, I think it's interesting.
No, I totally think was my body language saying that I don't think that's interesting.
No, you looked like you paused to listen. So
I did.
That's good.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Just listen and digest that, because that's so outside of like something that you'd think. Like I think, yeah, like for me, average person, I think mom go to hospital, mom birth baby, mom and baby go home all happy.
Yeah, and that's what usually happens.
But
thank goodness that's what usually happens.
Thank goodness.
We don't want anything else to happen, but sometimes it does.
And that's what you're for.
That's what I'm for.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or like, I didn't know this could happen, but you can have a disease where you just are paralyzed. You wake up and you're just like paralyzed. And then 2 days later you're not anymore.
Like as an adult?
Huh?
You just wake up and you're paralyzed?
Yeah.
What?
I know. Crazy, right?
What's that disease called?
Oh,
and how does it happen? So how can I avoid it?
Well, again, if it's the kind of thing I take care of, you can't avoid it if you have it. So
people come to you and they're like, hey, I woke up, I'm paralyzed. And then you're like, oh, you're paralyzed. And then they're like, oh, hey, doc, I'm not paralyzed anymore. And you're like, cool, have a good day. She's nodding for people listening.
I'm nodding. No, I mean, usually it's already happened to them and they want to know why.
Hey, why am I paralyzed randomly?
Why?
That's terrifying.
Was I hospitalized because I was paralyzed and nobody could figure out what was wrong with me? And it turns out that it was because my potassium level in my blood got screwed up.
And then you become paralyzed.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hypokalemic.
You what?
It's, wait, I'm trying to think of the name of that diagnosis.
When did that happen?
When did that happen?
Has that happened to you? When like a patient was paralyzed and then they just ate some potassium?
Well, now that I know that periodic paralysis syndromes are a thing, like I'm actually pretty familiar with them. The first time I saw it, I was like, what?
Yeah. Is there anything else like that I should avoid?
Again, you can't choose who your parents are.
Oh my God.
And they're the ones who gave you your genetics. So it's
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Nothing you have any control over.
I appreciate that, Mom and Dad.
You got good genes for the most part.
Yeah, I except for the fact that my leg doubled in size and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, that was
a little dramatic. I didn't think I was going to die.
That was dramatic, and it was less than optimal. Everyone can agree.
But it was better than a lot of things that happen to people.
Better than a lot of things, yeah.
So, dude, yeah, it was crazy. The nurses just kept telling me how lucky I was that I wasn't, like, a lot of worse things that happened in the ICU.
I don't know. Does that make you feel better when you're going through the worst thing you've ever gone through in your life?
Kind of. It makes me like feel, because I mean, no, well, I just remember the biggest like takeaway I had from my experience was like coming in and seeing people in beds and leaving and they weren't there anymore, not because they had left. And that was crazy.
Yeah, that's poignant.
Or like you're gonna get a catheter and you need to shut up when I put it in because there are people with like cancer, terminal cancer, and they're in the ICU and they're sleeping.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I was fine. It was no biggie.
Well, but it was.
It was.
Like, it was.
It wasn't fun. But you just take blood thinners forever and you're chilling. Unless it happens again and then you take more blood thinners.
Yeah. No, it's something cruddy to be saddled with, and some people, I mean, we all have something genetic. Like the odds are. We all have something.
Are the odds? Are?
All the odds are. We all have something. Yeah. you just might not ever know it. You might not know that, you just think you got diabetes because you didn't watch what you ate. But it turns out maybe there was a specific gene that made you have diabetes.
Yeah.
Or be more easily infected, or break bones, or be more likely to get cancer, or...
How often are those things, how often are things misdiagnosed?
Things that I see? Or things in medicine?
Yeah, like in medicine, that people are like, oh, this is what this is because 99% of the time this is what happens when this is, but it isn't actually. But we're going to just say it is and treat it like it is, but then it isn't that.
Well, luckily that doesn't happen very often.
That's good.
But I see it because that's how people get to me.
Okay.
Is because
things aren't what they seem.
Treated this person for what we thought this was, and it failed to work.
Yeah.
So now we think we might be wrong about what this is. What does Dr. Willis think?
Dr. Willis.
Dr. Willis.
Dr. Willis.
Call Dr. Willis.
Dr. Willis.
She'll have an opinion, whether she knows it or not.
And if she doesn't, she'll figure it out, or try to.
Yes, exactly.
Have you ever come back empty-handed?
What do you mean?
Like someone's like, figure this out, and then
and
you
I can't?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be the worst part of my job, actually.
Okay.
The kids that I cannot figure out. That makes me insane.
Okay.
Especially there's some kids and you're just like, this is figure outable.
Yeah.
This is so clearly genetic. Why can we not figure it out?
What happened? Like, is that like you do the gene sequencing, you read a bunch of stuff, you talk to other people?
Talk to other people, you email, the genetics world's kind of small.
Yeah.
So I actually do have some genetic buddies
some pals
around that are super smart in different areas of genetics that I can call in and say, what do you think is going on?
Yeah.
But after you've sequenced every gene in a person's body and you still haven't figured it out, like, what else do we got?
And do you just tell the parents, like, sorry, we don't know? And they're like, well, who do we go to find out? And you're like, no one?
Yep.
That's crazy.
I'm like, we can look again in a year.
Yeah.
Because new genes will be unveiled. New genes will be more well understood.
It's every year? It's really that, like, much progress?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I have a patient that got her diagnosis. I met her like the first week I was working there, and her diagnosis is just about to be published. 14 years that I've known this person.
How much did that like make her feel good that she finally knew what was wrong with her?
Unfortunately, many of my patients don't get to appreciate their diagnoses. Their parents do. Parents can be relieved to know that they finally understand what is going on with their
kids,
their offspring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a short stack on my desk of the ones that I just can't figure out, and it makes me nuts. So I just keep thinking, and they keep coming back. And have you heard of the Undiagnosed Diseases Network?
No.
That started started at NIH, and then it expanded to 7 sites, and the closest one is at UCLA. And people can apply. They have to apply themselves to be in it. So it's like, I have something weird. Nobody's been able to figure it out. And so they accept patients. And they do genome sequencing, but they also have like research things they can do that aren't a test I can order. And they can bring in all kinds of different specialists to help them, and they can go to the lab and experiment and see if the change we found is the right thing, and so and try to diagnose people. So I've had three patients that went to the Undiagnosed Diseases Network and got a diagnosis.
That's good.
Yeah.
So wait, you said there were things that you can't order. What were those?
Just like research studies.
Okay.
Like, not to get too technical, but just ways to look at when genes, so maybe it's not a mistake in the gene, maybe it's a mistake in when the gene gets turned on and turned off. Mm-hmm. And so ways to look at that is not really something that's available to order as a test yet.
Got it.
People will probably have that as something orderable.
But until then,
it has to be done with research.
Okay.
So.
Interesting. Yesterday I showed you this is a switch of topic.
Okay, change topic.
Change topic, Zoom.
Happy
Change topic.
to do it.
But yeah, yesterday I showed you a TikTok,
Yes.
which was about ADHD causing death earlier than not ADHD medicine. Basically, should I summarize it, or you honestly are probably better about that? Do you remember what it was? Basically
Summarize why I could make up why that could be actually true.
And yeah, and also talking about what was the hand thing that you said? You do this thing. Am I butchering that?
Oh, when I talk about genetics to people. When
No,
I'm
you said doctors
things?
do this thing when you
Oh,
have
hand waving.
Hand waving.
Hand waving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I'll show the TikTok. Actually, I don't know if I can, but I'll try for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
But basically, there was this TikTok that my friend sent to me, and it was this guy saying, which is weird, but because my theory when I first saw it was you have this doctor who says he's a doctor because you're like, oh, he's a doctor because he put doctor in his username, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you're like, oh, well, I hope he's a doctor, number one. And then number two, it's like you're summarizing a very complex thing in a very short amount of time with not a lot of context. Like I feel like you need to read a paper from wherever about that.
Yeah.
That has like this list of evidence in this thing of whatever before you summarize that, okay, this makes sense.
Right.
Versus you have someone on social media, and this bothers me because even if he may be right, which I'm gonna ask Mary if she thinks that he's right, and what he was even talking about, which was if you have ADHD, that if you get treated, you will have a longer lasting life than if you don't take medicine for that, and he was encouraging people to take medicine. And what worried me was that me as a film major at a school, like I don't know anything, I'm a moron, but what worried me is that you have these kids who go on social media like this and they make like big life decisions / conclusions based off of something that a random person said.
Yeah.
And I think that's really dangerous.
Yeah. I
So-
think that happens a hell of a lot.
A lot every day.
Yeah.
To everyone all the time.
To everyone. And for some reason, people would rather believe what they read on the internet than what science or doctors told them.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to me, but
And there's no logic in it either.
no.
Like people just are like, oh, that guy said that because he had doctor in his thing.
Right.
And he might have been right in this circumstance, but I'm saying like if there's another circumstance where they're like, you should, if you break your leg, it really isn't your leg being broken, it's your Fonza. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, so this TikTok, this guy has basically said, like I said before, if you have ADHD, you should take medication because if you don't take medication, that means that you're going to die earlier, like 13 years earlier than if you do. And I asked Mary about it because my instinct was that's a bunch of baloney, and that taking medication won't make you inherently less likely to die earlier. Yeah.
Yep.
And this was her response to that.
Oh, I just said
Go.
I can come up with a reason that might be true.
Okay. And so you're coming up with this reason based off of what?
Based on what I know about ADHD, what I know about the medications that people take for ADHD, what I know about people's just sort of the way the world works in general.
Okay.
Okay, so you asked before about like you use stuff from medical school and you come up with new conclusions. That's what I did.
Okay.
So I said a way that could be true is that many people with ADHD don't get a handle on it.
Okay.
My husband has ADHD. He figured out how to live his life without getting treatment for it.
And did he get diagnosed, or did you diagnose him?
I diagnosed him. But I think he would agree.
What were his how did you know that he had ADHD?
He's just classic. Actually, we were watching a PBS show with the kids, and this guy was talking about all the things that happen with people with ADHD, and my kids were rolling on the floor. They're like, that's Dad, that's Dad.
That's funny.
So my kids diagnosed him by watching the PBS show.
Okay.
So anyway.
Do you think I have ADHD?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends say that I have ADHD.
Yeah.
But you know the people that say that they have ADHD that say it just because it's like, oh, it's like
a
people
crutch.
who are like, oh, I have OCD.
Yeah. It's a crutch or it's just something to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, people who truly have it, some people can handle it, they can figure out how to work with it, and it can actually make you a more successful adult in many ways.
What were those benefits for like Mike Willis?
Like Mike Willis, he can I don't even know. I mean, he can accomplish a lot. He can multitask in weird ways. He can be very focused on things so that he can get them done. He is very careful and controls things. And I don't know, there's just a lot about him. There's a lot about him that is not necessarily great. That's ADHD as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think he would agree. But there's just a lot about, you know, if you can kind of harness the energy and the push and the H part, the hyperactivity part of it.
The H part.
You can make it work for you. But most, or maybe a decent percentage of people with ADHD can't be successful. They can't figure it out. So they drop out of school and they're more likely to do drugs. Maybe they're more likely to be alcoholic. They're more likely to have lower end jobs because they couldn't be successful in school. And if you take a group of people that are living that life versus a group of people who are successful, finish college, have a job they're gainfully employed, they have good health insurance, so they're better able to access medical care, and you compare the average age of death between those two groups, yeah, I bet it's 10 years different. So, and what I said is, that is hand waving. That's what we doctors say.
Yeah.
I'm going to take what I know, I'm going to make something up, but it's something that kind of makes sense based on facts, based on things that are true. So.
An educated
guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hand waving.
Hand waving.
Yeah.
How often? So then
I hand wave a lot.
you hand wave a lot.
Yes. I have a joke with my families. I'm like, well, you just heard me say I don't know in a half an hour. It took me a half an hour to tell you I don't know. And they laugh and they're like, yeah, but you told us good stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, but yeah. Just because I don't know doesn't mean I don't have an opinion about what I think is going on.
Yeah.
You know?
So trust what you see. Everything you see on the internet is true.
No.
What are things that you see on a day-to-day basis that may cater back to your job that are so clearly like not true or people don't understand? Not your job, I guess, but like
Just be it doctors or medicine or
Yeah.
whatever. The thing about that vaccines can cause autism,
oh, okay.
that's a bad one.
Really?
Oh,
Are you sure?
100%.
So vaccines don't.
I am so sure.
Vaccines don't cause. But how about the 2 or 3 people that it did cause autism?
But it didn't.
How do you know though?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Okay.
Based on
Helicopter.
studies of like
Helicopter. Go.
based on scientific studies out of Europe where they have socialized medicine, where they actually can count 10,000 people, the unvaccinated kids, there was a higher incidence of autism in the unvaccinated group. Like, hello?
That's the evidence.
Yeah,
That's all you
good
got
evidence.
for me?
No, that's not all I have for you. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of studies.
I
And
need,
you
I
want to
need
know?
a stack.
You want to know where? There was a single paper that was ever published
Okay.
that suggested that a vaccine may have been related to a child's autism. It was based on 1 kid or 3 kids or something, and it was later retracted by the guy that wrote it. He later said, "Yeah, oh, that was bullshit.
That was bullshit.
That was wrong." Yet, that's what everybody quotes.
Okay.
All of these people that want to vaccinate. I don't understand not vaccinating.
How about so COVID vaccination?
Yes.
What about people that don't believe that that is a good move? And for example, like the Johnson & Johnson, where people had blood clots, and it caused blood clots. Do you think that's like worth people worrying about getting? So like they're like, I'm not going to get the Johnson & Johnson because 6 people got blood clots. Is that a negligible amount, or are people?
I think it sounds scary enough that it's going to keep people from getting it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the numbers of people that have gotten it and been safe and not had a blood clot, like, it's really, 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 really a rare thing if it is associated. We don't know for sure. It could be that they had previously been in, again, I'm going to hand wave here. Maybe they were previously infected by a different strain of coronavirus that made their bodies react weirdly to this vaccine. So is it the vaccine, or was it their bad luck that they had this previous infection? Or maybe they have a genetic disease, that their body doesn't know how to react correctly to a vaccine or fight off the infection in the right way. Like there's a lot we don't know. But what I do know, and what makes sense to me, is what better way to fight an illness than to teach your body how to fight it for itself. And that's what a vaccine does. It teaches your body how to fight it for itself. Rather than, let's wait and see if I get sick, and then I have to have all these chemicals and all these machines and all these things to get me better again.
And a lot of money.
I choose that.
Yeah.
Why? And in the meantime, because I chose that, Grandma died. Because she couldn't get the vaccine for some reason, and I brought the thing to her. Like, I don't know. I think people's reasoning of why they don't want to get vaccinated is just bad reasoning. I get it. Like, if you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. It's absolutely fine. I choose to because I think it makes sense. I was super excited. I was first in line.
Really?
Yeah. I would have been part of a research trial if they'd have let me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's confidence in?
Immunology.
True.
That's confidence in my immune system. If I can teach my immune system how to fight something,
You're going to do it?
I'm going to do it. I had a very dynamic immunology teacher in medical school, and when he explained how the immune system worked, I was just like, well, vaccines are the genius idea of humankind. It's genius. Vaccines.
What do you think the public's perception and definition, like when the public thinks of vaccine, what do you think they're thinking versus what it actually is? And why is there now why has it become like a political negative stigma?
I have no idea. I really don't understand the negative. I honestly don't understand. I have heard people say things, but they're just like, because there's little, there's trackers. It's the way the government's trying to control you. It's some of the arguments that are against vaccinating, I just don't understand them. I just don't understand them. And it's true that we haven't seen what happens after this particular vaccine 10 years from now. That's absolutely true. And we don't know, and we will find out. But
is there a possibility that it could be a negative thing? This is me being a devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, there's always the potential for negative consequences.
Like the anthrax vaccine too, right? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the
You sure?
military gets it. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
It hasn't panned out to be the cause of a lot of things that people thought it was the cause of, but
Okay.
we digress. I think that
We digress.
we digress.
That was me talking out of my ass.
To me, again, just kind of reasoning through it, I think it's more likely that if I get a virus that has the opportunity to infect me all over my body, my liver, my kidneys, my GI tract, my lungs, my heart, could be doing damage everywhere in my body. And so maybe I had a mild infection now, but 10 years from now, I think it's more likely that you would have bad consequences from having been sick than from having taught your body how to recognize the infection right when it got there so you never did get sick. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the consequences of having the disease over a 10-year period are probably worse.
Are greater.
Yeah.
Perfect example, polio. Polio made you sick. We figured out how to give you a vaccine so you wouldn't get polio. And people who got polio maybe got immune to it, but then they were paralyzed later in their life. Perfect example.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But what a vaccine does is it takes just a little piece of the thing you're trying to fight off, and it shows it to your immune system, so your immune system can, it's like the attack dog.
Yeah.
And you're letting the attack dog smell the smell of the drugs that they're supposed to be, finding under the car, or, the T-shirt of the little girl so that they can hunt for the little girl and she's lost in a well. Like, that's what you're doing for your immune system with a vaccine. You're giving a little piece of what they're supposed to be on the lookout for so that it doesn't ever get a chance to set up shop in your body.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
True.
So then when I explain it like that, you're like, yeah,
It's
great. I don't know if I've convinced you one way or another.
I mean, I was
You're
an
very good at-
anti-vaxxer before this conversation, so.
You were?
No.
Oh. Even
I
if you
will
were-
admit I did wait. I wasn't first in line.
Yeah.
I wasn't like I think, because theoretic. So there were people I know who, quote unquote, cheated the system. So it was like, if you're
Got their vaccine earlier
Yeah.
than they should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't one. I was like, yeah, I'll wait until like, because well, it's basically like I'm 21 and I already had it too.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, as soon as I can get it, I'll get it. But I
Yeah.
wasn't like in a rush
Right.
to get it. But I got it.
Since I work for the military, it was important for doctors who care for active duty people to be vaccinated, because if your fighting force goes down,
Rut-row raggy.
yeah, rut-row, yeah. So keeping the military fighting force healthy is why I got to get vaccinated early.
Yeah, true.
And I did. There was actually a part of me that was like, somebody else maybe needs this before I do, but
You're like, at the same time,
at the same time, I'm super excited that this vaccine is here,
Yeah.
and if I get it, then I can encourage my patients to get it.
What'd you get?
Huh?
Which one did you get?
Pfizer.
You got Pfizer? Pfizer or Moderna? What side are you on? Whatever you can get.
Whatever. Maybe there's going to end up being a difference. They have the same idea.
Okay.
So they work in
True.
probably the same way.
How do you feel about how the conversation's going?
It's interesting. I mean,
Okay.
you got me on a lot of my soapbox topics, so I have a lot to say.
That's good.
But yeah, but we could talk about families.
Yeah, let's do that.
Kids are great.
Kids are great.
You should have kids.
Have kids.
Have kids. There.
Don't
Public
wear condoms.
service.
Have kids.
No. Have kids when you're ready to have kids.
Have kids when you're ready to have
But
kids.
then when you have them, they're great.
They're great.
Best thing I did with my life.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
They are.
You got 10 minutes to talk about your kids. Go.
My kids are so amazing and talented. And I don't know how I got so lucky.
Yeah, you did. They're pretty cool.
Well, you know them.
Why'd you grab a knife? I'm scared.
I'm going to use it to help dig up carrots.
Heck yeah. Can I help you?
I don't know.
I'll watch.
I just saw this carrot right here and I was like, that guy needs to be
He
pulled.
or she is done.
Yeah.
Or they, whatever.
Actually, I think I need to water the garden before I do that. What else can I say about my kids? When Emma was little, she was a mini me, and now she couldn't be more like Mike, and kind of vice versa.
Yeah.
Was like Mike's mini me, and not just like in looks or anything, but just like in personality and all kinds of stuff. And now Iz and I are super compatible.
Yeah.
And there's a lot about us that's really similar.
Interesting.
So, and I think that is fascinating. And I don't know if it's like nature or nurture.
Yeah, where do you think that came
You would
from?
think that a geneticist might have more opinions about nature versus nurture than I do. But I'm actually content not to know.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. And I think you can never figure it out entirely, because you can never go back and redo the experiment of raising the same kid in a different environment.
Yeah.
Like the closest you have is the identical twins separated at birth or something, right?
Yeah. Was there a lot of pressure knowing that, especially when kids are really young, the little things that you do can make broader implications on who they become and their characteristics and stuff?
Yeah, you definitely feel that as a parent, and if you don't, you're lame.
True.
But you can also you can get overwhelmed by that too.
Yeah.
It's like, I refuse to think that everything that's right with my kids is something I did, and everything that's wrong with them is something I did. They're their own people. They're their own people. And I think, maybe they were lucky in the way that they were raised, and we had money to pay for things like food and so they were lucky in that way. And would they how much of a different person would they be raised someplace else? But then there's other things that you're just like, okay, that's genetic.
Yeah.
Like you see Mike with Emma or something, you're just like, that's genetic. That's gotta be.
That's interesting.
But humans are interesting because you can't ever go back and do it again right now. the way things are.
Not
you
yet.
cannot go back,
I'm kidding.
relive the life, making a different choice. I love those movies where they like compare where you are versus where you could have been.
That I don't like thinking like that.
No?
No. Because then I think about like that I like missed potential. Like I could be somewhere greater than I am right now,
Yeah.
which I think is
a lot of
unhealthy.
people that are young like you, I know Emma will deal with that too. Look at that guy.
Big carrot.
What I think of is FOMO. You
Yeah.
know?
FOMO of
Like
life.
FOMO of life.
That's a crazy concept.
By making the choice I'm making now, am I precluding something else from happening? And I think I had that when I was young too. Like, I think I worried, but I worried more like when I was thinking about going to medical school or not, I was like, I think I will regret not going. Now, is that a great reason to go to medical school? I don't know. But I was pretty certain that I would regret not going.
Yeah.
And so that helped me to decide to go, believe it or not. Because it is kind of a big decision to go to medical school, especially when I'd started on a different path.
How did you not let your job define who you are?
I don't think I've done a good job of that, actually.
Okay.
I think sometimes I worry about when I do retire, because like, then what makes me interesting? Then what am I about? You know, will I have a conversation to have with anybody? Is anybody interested in listening beyond what is unique and different about me? Sure. Don't other people think that?
I can't answer that in my, like, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm not also an artist.
Not yet. You could
I
be.
do lots of things, you know. Like I said, I want to write a book. I like to sew. I like to.
That's cool.
I made my own wedding dress.
That's cool too.
Yeah. So there's other stuff I can do. But is it interesting enough to keep somebody's attention?
Does it have to though? Why do you need to keep someone's attention?
Because it makes you feel like you're important enough for them to pay attention to.
Theoretically though, shouldn't you
That's
like,
bad. It's bad logic.
Yeah.
I recognize that is absolutely flawed logic.
you should be able to find your own value without the like
Yes. I think.
assertion, not assertion, that's not a word.
Can I blame my parents for that? That I struggle with seeing my own
Self-worth
Self-worth?
without other people's.
without doing something that proves I'm a good person.
Damn.
That's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How do you think you're gonna find that?
I am going to soul search. You know what I need to do, and I don't do it enough, is just spend time by
Mushrooms.
myself.
What?
Spend time by myself.
Yeah.
I do good thinking when I'm alone, and I don't spend enough time alone. Because I'm busy at work, and then when I'm not at work, I want to be around the people that are here.
Yeah.
But it's therapeutic for me to be alone. It's part of why gardening is great.
Sorry, I invaded your space.
You invaded my personal space because I come out here, like, I say I'm going to go visit the garden. Like, when I come home, maybe I've had a bad day, maybe I'm mad at Mike, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I come out here and I putter, and I'm alone,
Yeah.
and I'm with my garden, and it gives me peace. So that's part of why I like gardening.
What's next for Mary Willis?
What's next for Mary Willis? Well, I don't know. Just going to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. I get to go to a really cool meeting in Oregon in September, so I got to come up with what I'm going to present there. I need to come up with a new exercise that I'm going to do.
Like a new hobby, activity?
Like a new thing that's going to be my thing. Like I was a yoga girl.
Surfing. It's hilarious. We live in well, Mike is an insane surfer, and he's been surfing his whole life, and none of his family surfs.
Nope. I tried. when I was first dating him, and I just kept falling. I got so much water up my nose. I was so miserable.
Things have changed.
I know I could probably figure it out, but I used to do yoga, and then I had to stop doing yoga because after I had a surgery, and then I was a runner, and then I had another medical issue that got in the way of me running, and I've had a hard time going back to it, and now everything hurts.
Yeah, I'm gonna have that
Like,
issue.
you know. But I want something that I'm driven to do like that. That's what's next for me. I need to find what that is. You should give me advice on this.
On what's next for you?
Yeah. Other than surfing, I will take that.
Hey, I'm honestly, I'm like you. I'm not, like, surfing isn't my passion. I like surfing. I like surfing with Mike and friends, but it's not like what drives me to do something.
No, it's not like mine.
I think you could find something. I think you need when you retire, you need to find a new community. Because right now you have a good community of like people and a place that is such a big part of who you are.
Yeah.
That you can find an activity or find a hobby that can fill in some ways, but it's different enough. I mean, same with like Emma, right?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that is very wise,
Yeah.
actually. Very true.
Truth. Anything else you want to say? No?
No, it's been fun. It's been a fun conversation. I'm very dirty.
I don't care. Elbow, COVID elbow.
COVID.
Thank you for watching, listening. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome. What am I supposed to say now?
Thank you to the people.
Thank you for watching. I can't believe somebody has actually made it to the end of this, but that's cool. Nothing against you, Max.
Hey, I try. I'm learning. Every one of these I do, I learn. And then we're going to do another one, and I'm going to do a way better job.
It was more of a personal dig than anything. Ugh.
What else would it be?
Huh?
What else would it be?
Against you. Like, I don't want you to think that.
Oh, a personal dig. I thought you meant like that's what this was me personally diving into who you are.
Oh, no.
Like
that last statement that I made was, how could it possibly be interesting for somebody to watch to the very end? And that's a horrible thing to say.
And with that, goodbye.
Hopefully you're going to edit that out.
Oh my God. No, definitely not. I need to make you look like the biggest meanie I can.
Oh, thanks.
Brutal.
That'll be great.
Look at those carrots. They have some. They're beautifully deformed.
They're very
How's
clearly
the
not from
genetics
the store.
of that one?
I don't know. This guy, like, what happened with him? They are very weird looking.
That's cool though. That was fun.
Well, thanks. I hope there's something useful in there.
Oh, are you kidding? For sure. People want to know.